They should be in front.
Steve, right in the front. Very good. Aloha and good morning, everyone. Aloha. Well, I'm honored to welcome our 75th Commemoration, World War II Commemoration honorary co-chairs, of course, Governor David Ige and Admiral Phil Davidson, as well as the co-chairs of our Hawaii portion of the commemoration, which is Darrell Wong, Major General, U.S. Air Force, retired, and Steve Colon, Captain, U.S. Navy, retired. I'm also happy to invite and actually welcome General Suzanne Veres-Lum, who's here joining us today, as well as our Commemoration Committee members, all right here behind and supporting all the efforts that will go forward from this day on. So, of course, the staff of the Battleship Missouri Memorial and our collaborative media partners, welcome. So, folks, this commemoration, the 75th World War II commemoration, is a nationally legislated act run through the Department of Defense. Our Hawaii CODEL has certainly supported not only the passage of the legislation, but also is helping to push for funding to be released that would be shared between Washington, D.C. and Hawaii in what are the bookend events of the 75th commemoration. In Washington, D.C., of course, centered around May 8th, signifying the 75th anniversary of the end of war in Europe. Events will occur actually from May 6th to 10th there. And, of course, the concluding events will be here in Hawaii between August 29th and September 2nd, with the centered focus on September 2nd, which is the 75th commemoration of the end of World War II, right here on the Battleship Missouri. So we are very happy that we are such an active part and playing such a pivotal role as Hawaii did during those war years, not only in terms of our entrance into the war, but also in the conclusion of the war right here on this very spot. Also at the national level, Senators Bob and Elizabeth Dole are the honorary co-chairs nationally, and Linda Hope, representing the Bob Hope Legacy and the Bob and Dolores Hope Foundation, have stepped up as the presenting sponsor on the national basis with a $1 million gift, $400,000 of which is already helping us jumpstart our efforts here in Hawaii. So there are efforts already begun in the last few months, but of course things will pick up speed right after today. So we hope there will be, at the end of the day, a lot of sponsors from around the country and around the state, and we know that there will be donations through our official website of each and every person out there that we're trying really hard to reach in the consuming public, in the military, and in the media throughout the U.S. and internationally. So a lot will come and transpire after the first of the year. We'll certainly be keeping you abreast of all of that. There is an official website. It's in your media packets, www.75thworldwar2commemoration.org, and it will have a special media channel just for all of you, with all the stories and images and videos that we have and will be producing. So at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Steve Colon, Captain, U.S. Navy, retired, for a few remarks and his introduction of Admiral Davidson. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, and aloha. It's a great privilege and honor for me today to introduce to you Admiral Phil Davidson, our Indo-Pacific Commander and honorary co-chair of this committee to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the surrender of World War II. Admiral Davidson has commanded at all levels, from Navy destroyers and frigates to operating fleets, and to now overseeing the largest military command in the world, encompassing over 70% of the Earth's surface. It's especially fitting to have Admiral Davidson here as a surface warfare officer, for I know he understands and can certainly relish the significance of what transpired here 75 years ago. Admiral Davidson, thank you for your support to this nation, and thank you for the support to our 75th anniversary of the Commemoration of World War II Committee.
Thank you, and aloha. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Steve, for the very kind introduction. I appreciate that. Major General Darrell Wong, thank you for your contributions here to the committee as well. Governor Ige, it's a great pleasure to see you. Thank you for all you do for the armed forces here in Hawaii. You've been an extraordinary partner for us, and I greatly appreciate the two of us working alongside on this effort going forward. So thank you, Governor. This is quite a historic deck, and I had the great privilege at the end of Desert Storm to actually be aboard the Missouri as a young officer assigned to a destroyer squadron staff that was embarked during the critical phases in January and February of 1991, if I remember it all correctly. So I've strolled this deck more than a handful of times in my lifetime. What strikes me here, and what strikes me about the 75th commemoration, is not what ended here on this deck, but actually the beginning. The beginning of a rules-based international order that literally freed hundreds of millions from tyranny and lifted billions out of poverty over the course of the nearly 75 years now since the signing aboard this deck. That rules-based international order means so much to our allies and partners in the region, certainly, but most importantly, to our American citizens. It represents the peace and the global economy that fuels American prosperity and American interest. So I'm looking very much forward to the celebration, which is ultimately what it will be, and what it's meant to the freedom of the Indo-Pacific and the idea of a free and open Indo-Pacific going forward. I would be remiss if I did not mention the great sacrifice made by the greatest generation and those who served during World War II. There are very few of them left. And this is a key opportunity to, again, commemorate and celebrate their service and their sacrifice during World War II and what it's meant to the foundation of freedom, not only for the United States, but the Indo-Pacific as well. So thank you for the privilege of co-chairing this very important effort. I look forward to the months ahead and absolutely look forward to the end of the summer celebration. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Admiral. And to that point, Mike Carr and his USS Missouri Memorial Association team have already identified and have communicated with 14 World War II veterans who were on the Missouri on September 2nd, 1945, and they are committed to be here with them and their families here at the end of August and early September next year. And there's others that we're still reaching out to, but it's really a tremendous effort thus far, and we're looking forward to honoring them. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Hawaii co-chair as well, and that's Darrell Wong, Major General, U.S. Air Force, retired. So welcome, Darrell.
Good morning and aloha. Aloha. It gives me a distinct pleasure to introduce our governor, State of Hawaii, the Honorable David Ige. He holds the distinct honor of being the governor of two of these significant events. One, the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and now this event, the 25th anniversary of the signing of World War II, or the ending of World War II. I want to thank the governor for his support and the proclamation, which really highlights an event that highlights the state of Hawaii and all its people and the history this state has played in bringing global peace to this region. So again, my pleasure, the Honorable David Ige.
Guess I'm a bit shorter than the Admiral. But thank you so much for being here today for this important announcement. Both my father and father-in-law answered the call more than 75 years ago to volunteer to serve in the 100th Battalion, 442nd, and was part of the campaign in the war in Europe. This celebration, this commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the end of the war is really an opportunity for all of us to remember those in the greatest generation for their courage, sacrifice, and commitment to a free and vibrant community and economy all across the world. And I echo what Admiral Davidson had said. Certainly, we honor their courage and sacrifice during the war, but I think most importantly, we remember the foundations of peace that was laid that day, September 2nd, 75 years ago, and really the commitment of the greatest generation, not only to fight and honor the freedom and democracy that we all enjoy today, but really their commitment to create the foundations of an ongoing peaceful community, because no one understands better the challenges, the terrors, the horrors of war better than that greatest generation. I do want to thank Darrell Wong and Steve Colon for agreeing to be co-chairs of this commemoration committee, and most importantly, I just want to thank all the volunteers who have agreed to and are committed to be part of planning for the appropriate commemoration, celebrate the courage, educate the public about many of the activities, and I think most importantly, celebrate the foundation of peace. So I will be signing a proclamation that will create the commemoration committee. I do think that I certainly am honored to be able to be part of this commemoration, and certainly was honored to be part of the 75th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor as well.
So the governor is signing with Parker Sonnet pens. The significance of that is that a Parker dual-fold pen was used by General MacArthur on September 2nd, 1945, and it was called the Big Red pen. These are red, certainly, but they're not exactly the same. But we're very happy that we have Parker pens. And these pens will be shared with our co-chairs, Darrell Wong and Steve Colon, as they lead our committee forward. So thank you very much, Governor. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Carr, who's the president and CEO of the USS Missouri Memorial Association, for some remarks.
Thank you, Tony. No one's ever accused me of needing a microphone, but I want to thank all of you for being here today on the surrender deck of the battleship Missouri. Right over the plaque that you see in front of you is where the worst conflict in the history of mankind ended on September 2nd, 1945, as you can tell from the photo that's on Gun Turret 2 behind you. We honor that event each and every day. And the 600,000 people that come and visit this ship, this place is a place of honor. It's especially an honor for us as an association to be bow to bow, 500 yards away from the sunken USS Arizona, where the war began for the United States. So there's very few places in our country where you can get a visceral sense of history like you do here on the decks of the battleship Missouri. And we're looking forward very, very much to the activities which will be occurring next year and have already begun, because we've been in our 75th year since January of this year, when we honored the 75th anniversary of the launching of the ship, and then in June, the 75th anniversary of the ship's commissioning, when the post office issued a stamp to honor that occasion. So it's been a great year for us also. I would be remiss if I did not thank all the members of the committee that have volunteered to serve. Many of them are veterans of the committee that worked a couple of years ago for the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and we're looking forward very, very much to having a great occasion and hope that all of you will be following it as time goes by. Please don't hesitate to contact myself or Alyssa or any of the members of our team as we go forward when you have any questions. Thanks very much, and thank you all for coming.
Aloha, Mike. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce Alyssa Lyons, the Executive Director of the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum. And Alyssa, Mike, and their teams are really there 100% supporting the committee and everyone else to really ensure that this commemoration is as special as it really needs to be. And we'll also be connected and collaborating with the groups in Washington, D.C. that are focused on the May event. So, Alyssa?
Thank you, Tony. Good morning. Almost everything I think that can be said to talk about the importance and significance of this celebration really has been reviewed. My role was to share with you that as a committee, we have a tremendous commitment to also engaging our young people. It is by passing on the legacy of our greatest generation and helping them understand the impact, the horrific impact of war, that we can teach our young children that there are other ways to make decisions. There are solutions that perhaps don't take us down that path. And so the programs that we're developing, the educational opportunities, are not only to instruct and share the values and character of our greatest generation, but it's also to highlight the significant role that was played by our Hawaii communities. The collection of oral history artifacts, the bringing forward of communities that both as civilians and as servicemen and women stepped forward to support the effort, created a legacy of partnership with our military that has been strong and significant, and we believe that is part of the outcome we hope will stem from this commemoration. I will share, Tony did make the announcement that our CODEL has been very active in working towards finding funding to support this commemoration. There are a number of commemorations that have happened over the past, the 50th anniversary of Vietnam, the commemoration, the 100th commemoration of World War I. Most of those have happened without significant financial support or commitment from our legislature. And I just wanted to announce that I did get a note this morning, and I didn't get to you in time, Tony, that the bill authorizing or releasing the $5 million to the Department of Defense to support this has gone through. So we are starting from a great perspective and on a great foundation that was put in place within this community for tremendous support in honoring and sharing and bringing all of our veterans forward, not just those who are on the Missouri, those who are in the air overhead, in the tremendous armada of aircraft that flew overhead, and those who were serving up to that day. So we look forward to an inspiring program, and thank you for your support in creating the awareness.
Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa. And echoing what everybody has said previously, we're just very thankful to all of the people here and many that are not, that are already come together to really help us move forward in the right way and to be commemorating and honoring the right things for the right reasons for the 75th commemoration. And we need your continued help and support and collaboration. Please don't hesitate to contact us anytime that you need anything. We have information which we've circulated out to you folks, and we'll keep everybody up to date as new things transpire. But we certainly would be happy to take, Mike, Alyssa, and I would be happy to take a few questions for any of you in the media that have a question. Yes?
Yeah. Alyssa mentioned the air armada that overflew the Missouri on September 2nd.
1945. Is something akin to that envisioned for this celebration or commemoration?
We do envision it. We're not sure yet if we can make it happen. We are working closely with our military partners to see if there is an opportunity to bring some of the World War II historic aircraft to the Hawaii area to be part of that ceremony. As we said, we are partners with a national commemoration as well, so there will be 112 historic aircraft flying over Washington, D.C. Mall on September 8th, marking...
May 8th.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, May 8th, marking the end of war in Europe. And so it is something we hope to see happen here.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? For the 75th, there were hopes to bring vintage aircraft out, warbirds. Is there any commitment from shipping to bring out bombers or fighters for this event?
It is something we continue to look at. There are private opportunities, perhaps, that are extremely expensive. And so I'd say at this point, the discussion as it was in 2016 is there, and we're going to do everything we can to see how much of that we can make happen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
You said you contacted 14 veterans from the ship. Do you have any idea how many there still are surviving and how many were on board on that day?
Oh gosh, there were thousands of men. If you look at the pictures, you can see that every square inch of this ship was just covered with men. We have identified 14 individuals who are actually on board. There is no central database, unfortunately, that we can go to help identify all of them. So we've been shaking every social media tree, both here and in Missouri and everywhere else that we can to try and identify these. And we don't. Most 90-year-olds don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but their grandchildren certainly do. And so we're hopeful that that process will help us to identify all that we can. And again, as Tony noted, for those that are able to travel, we intend on underwriting a trip for both they and one traveling companion to be our honored guests next September.
And one additional note, the staff, Jacqueline and the team here at the Missouri, they also have identified so far, I think it's 3 individuals who were on other ships or in the air on September 2nd, 1945 there at Tokyo Bay. And we're in contact with them as well. We're going to keep reaching out. That's part of what we're doing, is having kind of a roll call out there for World War II veterans that were there on that day. But of course, we're also wanting to bring as many, or have as many World War II veterans join us as possible, not just from around the state, but wherever they may reside at this point.
There will be a large contingent from the state of Missouri coming, probably not the governor, but it's certainly the lieutenant governor, as well as a lot of individuals on the Missouri Commissioning Committee have already indicated that they're going to be bringing a large group of people. It's especially significant for me also to have Admiral Davidson on our committee because he is from St. Louis, Missouri. And so that makes this all even more special.
And in the state of Hawaii, the effort is really statewide. There are going to be efforts and content, stories, celebrations of different types throughout the islands. We're also going to try to make sure that we get as much attendance as possible from our World War II veterans here in Hawaii that were part of the famed groups, the Japanese American veterans, the Chinese American veterans, the Filipino American veterans, the Hawaiian American veterans, and all other World War II veterans that reside here. So we're reaching out to all those groups. We're also reaching out to those civilian organizations and companies that between 1941 and 1945 played such an active role in supporting our efforts, here in Hawaii, as well as individual civilians who worked here, many of which were right here at the shipyards. So this is all about all the people that came together to really bring a culmination to the worst, most horrific war of all kind. Sure. There are about, at this point, we have 25 members on the commemoration committee. In addition to that, we have 6 what we refer to as liaison members who are folks from the active military who are helping us and collaborating with us, but not officially as members of the committee.
From the legislature.
And we have Representative Onishi and Senator Wakai representing the legislature. And the National Park Service. Jacqueline Ashwell and Jay Blunt is here representing the National Park Service. All the historic partners here are participating. The Bowfin, the Aviation Museum, the Missouri, and of course the Pearl Harbor National Memorial.
And Pacific Historic Parks.
Pacific Historic Parks, who obviously is the entity that is handling them for many, many years. So everybody's participating at that level like we did a few years ago for the 75th of Pearl Harbor, but we want to expand our network, and we need all of your help to get the messages out, encourage people to participate at the individual level, at the company level, or organizational level. Any and all help is needed, welcomed, and we want it to really be a special series of events that get broad community engagement throughout this state. The draft budget that we have so far is about $2.4 million. It's our estimate. $400,000 of that had already come in from the Hope Foundation. The others come from a series of donors, sponsors. We're obviously working very closely with the Hawaii Tourism Authority to get their help on community engagement or cultural-focused activities. Here and many others. There's organizations locally and nationally that we are talking with again, like we did a few years ago. And for a point of reference, our budget, final budget for the 75th Commemoration of Pearl Harbor was a little bit larger than that, but still under $3 million. So we think our numbers here make sense. And but it takes a team effort and lots of avenues. So we're working on it. No, the congressional appropriation is at the national level and goes through the Department of Defense. And there will be various entities, including us from Hawaii, that are applying to them to help support various events and programs and activities here in Hawaii. So a portion of that would go to ultimately come to Hawaii. A portion will go to the DC group, and a portion, of course, will remain within the Department of Defense for them in terms of all the outreach efforts that they are undertaking.
Yeah, William and our congressional delegation have been very involved in making sure that Hawaii gets its fair share of those federal dollars.
Yeah. And as it's like anything else, this is obviously a nonprofit effort. And so as we are successful in getting more donations, more sponsors, more support, then we will alter or adjust or be able to expand a lot of those outreach programs, especially the educational ones, the educational programs, exhibits that help us reach throughout the state. So we'll just keep adjusting, as we go.
Will there be anything else that is envisioned that's really spectacular on that anniversary day?
Well, I think it'll be spectacular all to itself, and with as many World War II veterans, both there in 1945 as well as those since, as many World War II veterans as possible that can be there so we can honor them and thank them. And as the governor and Admiral had spoken before, it's all about what happened after that day. It's about the 75 years since then where we truly have been able to have, global peace. So we're hopeful that that day is going to be shared around the globe. We will be doing live streaming as we did for the 75th for Pearl Harbor, and our intention is to have a minimal number of locations, at least one location on every neighbor island here in Hawaii, multiple locations around Oahu, locations throughout the United States, especially at museums that are focused on the military or the World War II effort. We will have it again in Times Square as we did the last time, and our hope is to have one location pulling down the stream and doing a promotional effort to get people to watch it in every country that participated in World War II. So that will include about 30 You have to correct me if I don't have the exact numbers right. But so the plan is to make sure that that day is shared as widely as possible around the globe for everyone to understand, remember, and act in the right manner moving forward. Thank you. Okay, all good? Hey, happy holidays, everyone. Be safe, and thank you very, very much for your support, and we look forward to calling upon you a lot right after the new year. Thank you.